maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't just take the commissioner's word for it that it can actually be profitable to comply with biodiversity, striving toward biodiversity. Why don't we call up some people in the industries and in business? Let's call up our. This is what our next panel is about. Let's call up Jeroen Riepkema, CEO of Triodos, which is an ethical bank. Welcome. Welcome, Jeroen. Mika Yukio, CEO of Metsä Board Corporation. That's a paperboard and packaging company in Finland. And then Barbara Lavernos, Deputy CEO of L'Oréal. Bienvenue. Raymond Johansson, Governing Mayor of Oslo. Mr. Mayor, welcome. And Vincent Warnery, CEO, Beiersdorf. Willkommen. So let's dwell on that. How do you stay profitable when you are pursuing a 1.5 science-based pathway and biodiversity? How do you stay profitable? That's why I want to talk to the businesses first about that. Barbara, can you kick that off? How do you make L'Oréal, keep L'Oréal profitable when you're trying to strive toward those goals?
I think it's really related to the topic of today, transform the norm. And when you're asking me this question, immediately into my mind, it's because performance has absolutely transformed. Today, performance for industry, we are all here and in the room, is related both and jointly to an economical, financial performance, obviously, while at the same moment and equally the social and sustainability performance. And this, this twofold performance vision is also, to me, the way, as a leader, I have this twofold thinking. On the one hand, I am absolutely desperate because of the urgency of the planet, because, as said by Max, we are running after time.
Right.
But at the same moment, I'm absolutely also enthusiastic. May I use this word? It's not a provocative, but because we are today a generation of leaders that not have to transform the norm, but our generation has to create the norm. And I think that's how, personally, I see performances both for companies, jointly financial and non-financial and extra-financial, but leaders also, and being capable really to change and transform their business model towards a new world. And that's, by the way, our responsibility.
So it's possible. You can do it.
It's possible. It's possible, and to me, I'm sure most of us have plenty of examples of what we are all doing, and we are all committed, and I have friends in raw materials, ingredients, supplier in the room, or packaging, and we are joining forces to make it happen.
Yeah.
It's possible. Look, one figure. We decided years ago, 2005, to decouple our CO2 emission from manufacturing from our growth. Believe it or not, today we are minus 91% across our 45 factories across the world, while increasing volume by 45%. So 95%, 45%.
Yeah.
You can decouple, but you can decouple because of, and I believe, the moment we are in. The moment we are in, and that's why I'm not in tune with Mayor of Porto, who was fabulous, I must say. I'm a little bit optimist, because it's possible. Because today, the revolution of science and the revolution of tech is powering us like never before. Look at COVID, for example. The vaccine has happened. I mean, it was unimaginable for us before.
Right.
Today, science is transforming. Tech is computing and empowering us, allowing us, if we are leader, and it's a question of really will this time, to make it happen.
Okay. Let me go to Jeroen on the financial side. What about degrowth? There's that concept of degrowth. Your long-term investment outlook said degrowth should be considered. Can you explain that?
Well, I think the current system we have, the current economic paradigm, is not sustainable. And that's maybe not the nicest announcement for today. But if you see the extractive way we live with the planet, and how we, in a way, destroy the balance in the ecosystem, we have to make changes. And I think we have to move away from the economic system, which does not price natural capital, and just sees it as an externality without any price. I think we have to rebalance that, and we have to go to value creation and to well-being. And I think we can do that, but we also have to move away from the extractive to regenerative, from only thinking of efficiency, but much more in terms of resilience and adaptivity, in terms of only looking at competitive more to just and cohesive. And I think those changes we have to make, and I think we can make it, and then we can also sustain the planet where we can all live in a meaningful manner. And we can also withstand the criticism of the generations to come, because they will hold us accountable.
Right.
You knew, and what have you done about it?
Well, Vincent, I saw you nodding on this. A business, a huge company, home products and so forth. Why are you nodding? Why do you agree?
I'm in the camp of Barbara. I think there's something which I find extremely exciting in our industry. We are growing fast. So we are clearly the beauty industry, the one which is growing the fastest.
Yeah.
So we could say when you grow that level, how could you at the same time decrease your CO2 emissions? And we are dramatically reducing our CO2 emissions. This year, for example, Beiersdorf, we reduced by 17% versus 2018, despite achieving the best ever growth of the company. And we prove that we can do it. And what I find extremely also interesting for a company like L'Oréal or Beiersdorf in my case, Beiersdorf is not well known, but the brand Nivea is also well known.
Right.
We are a consumer industry, so we are touching millions of people. And when we are able
including this face.
Exactly. And when we are doing something great with our products, we're able to communicate it strongly. I took a few products, it's also coming from
show and tell. I love show and
coming
tell.
from my L'Oréal
beautiful.
culture, I would say. But this is the #1 Nivea product in the world, by far.
Hold that up. Let's see
This
it.
one.
Nivea cream, right?
Huge,
Yeah,
huge
yeah,
product.
yeah.
Everybody, I hope it's not only your mother and grandmother, but your little sister is using this product. Last year we moved to 98% biodegradable ingredients. Vegan, we changed into recycled plastic. By just doing that, we save every year 7,000 tons of CO2.
Right.
And that's something, of course, we are communicating. We are not doing that in a silent way.
Yeah.
We want consumer to say, we say consumer, we are changing your product, but for good reasons. And this is why combining growth and the ability to talk to consumer is something we are doing together, because this is something which is great. We are competing on absolutely everything except on sustainability,
Right.
where we work together. And that makes also a difference.
Okay, Mika, let me come to you. Paper products. We were talking about packaging. We were talking about and this biodiversity agreement. How do you put that to action in your own company's policy?
Yeah.
How are you going to defend biodiversity with what you do? You're cutting down trees.
Yes,
Right?
And you know that our biggest shareholder is Metsäliitto Cooperative, and there are 100,000 forest owners
Yeah.
behind that. And of course, they are getting their earnings, or part of their earnings, by selling wood for us.
Wood. Yep.
But then on the other hand, they are very, very worried about this biodiversity. So to put a little bit in perspective, already back 1887, there were an act in Finland, or law in Finland, that you need to regenerate forest after the final felling.
Right.
Already since 1887. Since then, of course, the forest harvesting and all these things has developed a lot. But since 1970s, we have now 40% more forest stock comparing back 70s.
Really? Huh.
And then the latest kind of decision in Metsä Group, in which Metsä Board belong, was made in forest harvesting, that we take only pine, spruce, and birch, which are needed for our production, and then a certain kind of diameter of aspen. But all the other wood species will stay in the forest in order to increase the biodiversity.
So you change the way you operate to maintain profitability
Precisely.
and to be more
Exactly.
pro-planet.
And then on the other hand, then whenever there is a kind of final felling, we need to, or there are 3 to 4 new kind of plants to replace and to grow to keep the forest
Right.
also grow in the future.
What about buildings? Mr. Mayor, Raymond, we talked about how this building is more in tune with the planet, more green, and saving energy. Now, Oslo plans to build 100,000 new buildings by 2030. How are you going to keep that footprint from crushing the biodiversity in your area?
Thank you for a very important question.
It's a tough one, huh? I got you sweating.
That's
there.
my answer.
I heard
Well,
your question.
first of all, let me give you a background.
Yeah.
Oslo, we have the waterfront, and 2/3 of Oslo is actually forest. And I live where the city meets the forest. For 2 years ago, I was out walking with my dog. There I met the wolf. So it means that we have the forest, which need big area,
Right.
like lynx and wolf, and it's political consensus to preserve the forest. And we have critters who lives in dead trees. We have to take care of that as well. But as you rightly mentioned, the most serious species is human beings. And Oslo, it's continued to grow. And what we can do to preserve the biodiversity, it's first through the regulation. It's not allowed to build in the forest. And it's
Okay.
political consensus.
Zoning, in other
The
words,
zoning,
too, right?
it's
Yeah.
definite, and that has been definite
Okay.
since the Second World War. And then we have opened the streams, and we have tightened, and we are building close to public transport. And that's a part of, and we are at the same time, we are planting 100,000 trees, which is necessary. We build green roofs,
Right.
which is a part of also to preserve the biodiversity, which is extremely important to put on the top of the political agenda. Thousands of species disappear each year. So it's often difficult to talk about small critters who lives in dead trees, but we need to embrace them as well. So thank
Good.
you for the question.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, a lot of companies are playing the game and accepting that we've got to try to keep things to the temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius increase. What about nature? What about this biodiversity agreement, Barbara, at L'Oréal? How are you changing the company policy to try to fit with that biodiversity agreement?
No, it's a so crucial question because at the end of the day, forests represent about 1/3 of our planet, and it's a lung, it's a green lung of our existence.
And a lot of your products come from nature, right?
Alors, we
Right.
have already 61% of our ingredients that are bio-based or coming from mineral abundant sources. But it's not to say we achieved it, because we are aiming for 95% in 2030. We committed, for example, to have a flat land occupancy for all our sourcing by 2030 versus 2016. That's a huge commitment because
Yeah.
this one, and to come back to your question about biodiversity, we are really entering into this nature positivity vision and trajectories that all of us have to embrace. And this, to me, is thanks to, when it comes to L'Oréal, green sciences. Just to share with you that, so it's with an entire ecosystem. We invest not less than into 12 startups, biotech, microalgae, fermentation, cell-free in the last 12 months. And then we created consortium with big players, one is in the room, with big players to put it at scale. So to come to biodiversity, meaning not plunging the nature, it is all about being capable to take advantage of one cell from nature and then being capable to duplicate it, to ferment it, without plunging the nature. So that's really the commitment we are into at L'Oréal. And I must say, just that preserving biodiversity is not only an absolutely urgency for all of us, and we owe that to the planet, but to our children and grandchildren. But by the way, who else than nature has invented so much innovation? In moving to that way of looking at ingredients, you can't believe the innovation we are deciphering.
Right, right. Mika, can you add to that at all?
Yeah, sure. So in our case, it's very important that we have clear targets, of course, and our target is that by 2030, our production at all the mills, as well as all the products, are fossil-free. And as far as the production is concerned, we have the investment plan in place. Each mill have it, and we are implementing that very, very clearly.
Okay.
And then as far as the products are concerned, already today our products are like 99% fossil-free, but
Right.
still there is that 1%, or
Right.
0.6% or something like that. And we are working hard in order to get there then by end of this decade.
Jeroen, what about financial criteria in financing? We were talking about investment just now here. Triodos only finances companies that positively impact people and planet. That's your objective. What specific criteria do you see, and could you toughen those in the future when it comes to biodiversity?
Well, Triodos Bank was established in 1980 and has a clear mission that we want to create a society where people can pursue a fulfilling life within planetary boundaries. So that's what we have been working upon for the last 42 years, and we stimulate our clients to use their money consciously. So we have about 750,000 people who expect us to spend money and to give loans and investments to create positive impact. So we have minimum standards. We exclude quite a number of activities and industries. And with all the activities we do, finance and invest in, we want to create this positive impact. And that is indeed in restoring, for instance, nature. So we invest in the UK in activities where with natural activities we help to manage and prevent flooding. Or we invest in rewilding projects where we stimulate biodiversity. And biodiversity protection, and that's why we're also happy with COP15, is important in order to allow these planetary boundaries that we can still live also in the next generations within it. Right. But it also will help us to deal with the greenhouse gas emissions because we can also use nature as sequestration, so inserting the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So those are the areas where we are focusing upon, and we finance projects in that area.
So, great idea. How do we expand that within the financial world? How do we get other financial institutions to sign on to that kind of policy?
We try to be also a front runner. So one of our statements has been that we want to be net zero in 2035. So that means that by 2035, all our lending activities plus our investment activities will have a net zero carbon dioxide emission. So we will reduce it in the coming years on scientifically based methods, but all the greenhouse gases we cannot reduce, we will sequester with nature-based solutions. And we do hope that other financial institutions will follow, because as you will probably seen, many other financial institutions have a commitment only for lending or investments in 2050.
Yeah.
So we combine them, and we try to do it 15 years earlier. I must admit, it can keep me out of my sleep, because it's quite an ambition.
Here's something to keep some CEOs out of their sleep. This is what Max made reference to this, that perhaps there should be a linkage between company performance on biodiversity and executive bonuses. What do you think, Vincent?
We have something very, very interesting in Beiersdorf since last year. We have two set of KPIs. So some KPIs which are business related,
Yeah.
profit, sales, market share, and some transformation KPI related, which are mainly diversity. The interesting thing is we cannot get the KPI business if we don't get the KPI sustainability. So
Okay.
even if we perform
Aha.
like this year, the best year ever of Beiersdorf,
Right.
if I don't get, going back to the example of our team, if I don't get my sustainability KPI, I have zero bonus. And that's pretty strong. That's pretty strong.
It is.
We have that for the next 3 years or so, because this is where we are transforming the company, and we have this objective of getting to minus 30% CO2 emissions by 2025. And I can tell you, it's not only my objective, it's the objective of my full board, and 25% of the full company, including all the leaders of the company. So it is impactful.
Interesting. Barbara, is there any similar policy over at L'Oréal, or are you thinking
Abso-
about that?
Absolutely. All bonuses from each and everyone manager across the board, from CEO to plant manager, country manager, marketing manager, financial director, is related to sustainability.
Bravo.
Even purchaser, because many times I had the question about the sourcing team. Everybody across the company, the same way Vincent is describing
Right.
it, because at the end of the day, it materializes the core value. You mentioned just before walk the talk and walk the walk.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, speeches are fantastic if really you don't give back people about their real impact.
Yeah.
It will not happen with
You
the
gotta-
snowball effect we do
It gives them a
expect.
stake in the thing, a stake in that. Mika, you're nodding
Yeah,
there too. I guess you too, right?
Yeah, I mean, in every employee in Metsä Board, 2,500 people roughly, we have the one part of our bonus incentive system is related to sustainability.
Okay.
As an example, my personal target last year was water efficiency. So what was the water used per produced ton? And this year, my sustainability-related target is work safety. So what is the kind of frequency of work safety in all the mills, the whole company this year?
Okay, interesting. Let's shift over to how ports can be anathema to biodiversity if not done right. What about the Port of Oslo, Mr. Mayor? How are you preserving or trying to preserve the ecosystem, the marine ecosystem? What's your plan?
Well, first of all, it has been a big change over the last 10, 20 years. Before, it was a shipyard there, and we also put all the wastewater more or less directly into the sea. So then we have cleaned up hundreds of tons of sediments. And at that time, when it was so polluted, it was no access actually to the sea. So we have been opening all the seaside for people, for businesses, for architecture. We have built an opera, Munch Museum, and also a big library. And what is very popular, it's saunas. So it's floating saunas. So people are really, it has been, because we have opened the sea, it has been an important new identity. Because before, Oslo was more known for ski jumping and Frognerparken, Vigeland. And now it's more known also for the new modern architecture and culture and the National Museum. And that's because of the city planning. And also because of preserving the marine ecosystem. So it's good for business, good for people, and good for the nature and the ecosystem.
Okay, and now let me shift gears now to the anti-deforestation law of the European Union. For your business, let's start with, I guess, Vincent. Will all your key materials be importable if, with that anti-deforestation law?
Yeah, and to be honest, we are already ahead of this rule, because we don't, when we have a factory in Brazil, we don't use raw materials coming from Europe. So we have to find raw materials produced in Brazil which are compliant with the Europe regulations. So it's putting an even higher standard. Yeah, because
The
it's
long arm of the European Union there. Huh?
yeah, in a way, yeah, because we are European, because we absolutely support this legislation. We have to make it happen in every factory, in every raw material that we are buying across the world, which is very easy for us in Europe, much more complicated when you have in the rest of the world. So we are buying satellite, to check, what is happening in Brazil, where we have a huge factory. We have some issues also in Indonesia. So it's a big challenge because there is no way we're going to explain that we are doing that in Europe, but not in the rest of the world.
Right, right. Barbara, L'Oréal too?
Exactly the same thought as Vincent, as we are in the industry. And just to add on it, that's where, and we are on the same page, that's where, at the end of the day, as said by Vincent, this question or other question related to the urgency we are all facing has nothing related to competition. Here we are competitors, you're right,
Yeah.
but we are looking competition in that field. If we want to have the right sourcing, because we have also factories delivering in their country, but we need sourcing. If we are not joining forces all together, it will never happen, and it will make our own ecosystem of suppliers in difficulty. So competition, to me, is also part of the new norm. And just to say, we associate, for example, with more than 60 of our competitors, all the beauty industry mostly, to move to transparency to consumers, the Eco Beauty Score, because we owe that also to consumer.
Yeah, I was going to say you're the giants. You're
So-
among the giants,
so
but you're
we are
getting
fighting
others
every
to
day.
sign on.
He's a
right?
friend of mine, but we are fighting every day, I can tell you, but not in
But
that
that you're
field.
getting others to play ball as
Absolutely.
well in your industry.
For those type of new regulation, for those type of new challenges, I mean, who is stupid enough not to cope? I mean, the end. And today, you were speaking about stopping greenwashing. Greenwashing is coming because people are still thinking it's a question of competition. It's stupid. That's something industry. You were mentioning what private has to do. Private really had to speak up and to stop this.
Yeah. Let me stay on deforestation, Jeroen. What about deforestation risks? How is Triodos screening companies for deforestation risks in preparation for the EU taxonomy objectives? Can you talk about that?
Of course. Well, we're first and foremost very happy with this EU deforestation directive because I think it's important, and we would also advocate not to only have it for the industry but also for the financial industry. So also the financial industry should be very critical on what kind of activities do they finance. As said, we have minimum standards, so we analyze all the companies to which we lend or invest in whether they are living up to these standards, and if not, we will not engage with them. And in terms of the green taxonomy, we think it's a great step forward, albeit that we are rather critical on still having natural gas and nuclear power in it. We think we should really go for a green taxonomy and leave those two sources of energy out of it, because I think we feel that it's a little bit blurring the green taxonomy. We should really stick to the green taxonomy so that investors also have the choice where to put their money. We had the regulator from ESMA also over here. When you talk about greenwashing, I think for organizations like ours, we have about 6 billion in investment funds which we manage, all Article 9, all dark green. But sometimes it's a bit challenging that we have to explain why we are dark green, whereas other funds don't have to explain how much damage they actually create.
Yeah.
And I would also advocate that we should make more visible so that the investors have an opportunity to make their own choices, that you also have to explain how much negative impact do you create as an organization. And I think the co-panelists over here will outstand because they are very much working hard on it, but they should also get the benefit then from investors compared to other companies who don't invest all that money in sustainability. So I think in terms of transparency, we have made good steps forward, but there is still a world to win.
Yeah, Barbara, I saw you nodding. Do you want to add anything to that, or you're in agreement? You agree?
Very much in agreement, and it's one of the difficulty, and I'm so much with you about the taxonomy, and the fact that today it's so blurred, it's so difficult to understand. so much data to compile, and by the way, CDP is our life in simplifying the data collection. But that's true that today, who is capable as a consumer, as a leader, as an investor, to really assess very precisely one company compared to the other? The great thing is we have CDP, for example, that are really the most respected rating that helps. But the truth is, thanks to reports, for example, it's impossible. Everybody is speaking about green gas emissions, CO2 reduction, percentage on the baseline of whatever, scope 1, scope 2. I mean, is it done on purpose? If we are serious and we have regulator in the room, I think the ability to have a shared really taxonomy, allowing really to compare company for everyone is really at stake. Transform the norm.
Transform the norm. Yeah. What about transforming the norm for people? What about for people, Mr. Mayor? You've signed Oslo. Oslo has signed on to a Green City Accord to tackle waste, air quality, nature, and noise. What progress have you made so far on biodiversity, and how do you measure that progress?
Well, we have our climate budget to measure it. So we are counting CO2 emissions in the same way as we are counting money. So all parts of the municipality, it's involved in reducing the CO2 footprint. So that's really a very important instrument. But at the same time, which I think it's important, it's that the public sector also are using procurement and their purchasing power. It's extremely important. Oslo is buying goods and services for 3 billion euro each year. And then we put forward a lot of requirements. It was mentioned earlier today about fossil-free construction sites. So that's a requirement when we have our tenders. It needs to be fossil-free. We're using our power. And we need to be predictable. When we started in 2016, I invited the entrepreneurs, and then it was 1 electric diggers in Oslo. Now it's nearly up to 300 electric diggers. Because we have been predictable, we use our power, and we go also into all other details, not just to electrify and fossil-free. We use also to do something with the working conditions for the workers in the construction
It's all linked
business.
together.
Yes, but it's about procurement. It's about using your purchasing power, and that the public sector can do. But it needs to be bold politicians, forward-leaning, just as the business are forward-leaning. The politicians needs also to be forward-leaning and use their power.
Clock is ticking. Clock is ticking to comply with all of this. But the clock is ticking on this panel, unfortunately. If we could do a lightning round, starting with Jeroen, I guess, maybe one final statement, or is there one objective you want to achieve this year that you haven't achieved yet? How about that?
I think there are many objectives. True, wow. Now
Just one. Give me one.
Actually, I take 2. I would like to have more banks following our statement on net zero in 2035. I think that would really make change. And I also would invite banks to follow, say, things like product innovation as we are doing. We introduced last year in the Netherlands a bio-based mortgage. We will give to our clients a lower interest rate if they use more natural-based material in constructing their houses. So using wood or other nature-based products. And I think if we really stimulate the consumer attitude to also make the right choices, I think that will help. And we heard the mayor of Porto saying, well, it is about, say, the consumer, but we as a producer can also stimulate to offer products where they know that they buy the right product and do the right thing for biodiversity and the climate.
Yeah, absolutely. Reflecting the externalities, as we talked about. Mika, something quick. I mean, I know your objective is or you have cut water use by 30%, or you want to. Is that something you want to do this year?
Last year was historically good as far as profit for Metsä Board was concerned. But it was also historically good if you think about our sustainability performance. And I think that these things go hand in hand. If and when you are able to improve your sustainability KPIs, you are also able to improve your profitability.
Right.
And this year, my target clearly is to improve our sustainability performance further,
Okay.
because that automatically means that also profits will be better.
Right. And it's tied to your bonus, too. Haha. Barbara, one key objective, what one thing do you want L'Oréal to achieve this year when it comes to biodiversity?
As you understood, we have so much still to do, but we are very much engaged on ingredient and packaging bio-based, on CO2 emissions and climate change and biodiversity. So if I have one dream for 2023, is to be capable with my ecosystem of tech players to engage and to commit into a tech and digital trajectory with very clear KPIs, with very clear vision of what means that all of us are living in a digital world, because this one is intangible, but it's creating CO2 damage, biodiversity, and water scarcity like hell. So my priority for 2023 is really to find partners to engage and to commit beyond compensation that tech is playing a lot.
Very good. Mr. Mayor, one objective. You got about 10 months left to achieve that one goal. What is it?
The municipality of Oslo, we own the second biggest hydropower company in Norway. Speed up the production of renewable energy. There's a war going on our continent, which can lead to, and I'm coming from an oil and gas producing country, and we have provided Europe with gas, but we cannot accept that the whole green shift will suffer a setback because of the war.
Yeah.
So then producing, and we shall do our part, and we are responsible also as a big owner of energy companies, which I think for the next 10 months will be the most important thing. And that's also about biodiversity, because it's about reducing the CO2 footprint.
Right. And finally, Vincent, what does Beiersdorf want to do this year?
Beiersdorf doesn't want to do something alone. I think this is something which I would like to come back to what Barbara was describing, this eco-beauty score. I think it's something for the other industry which I found admirable. Imagine that you have all the big companies, all, not 2, 3, 4, all of them, the Unilever, the L'Oréal, the Beiersdorf, the Johnson & Johnson, the P&G, the Estée Lauder, saying don't want to bullshit consumers. We don't want to be greenwashing. We want to tell you exactly if this product is really green or if this product is not. The fact that together we are able to do that is a miracle. We have still to walk the talk. We are working on data, on aligning on everything. But if we are able, as an industry which often was perceived as selling a dream, we are able to say, yes, we sell the dream, but we are also the most tangible proof, of the true sustainability of our product, I will be extremely proud. And this is why we are all aligned on that, all the key guys to make it happen.
Vincent, thank you very much. Thank you to all of our panel. Can we give them a big round of applause, please?